Hey, hello, this is Justine.
And this is Alicia. We're back here with Womanufacturing, and today we have a guest. We are going to be talking to an old coworker and friend of mine, Swetha. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Fun little story. Swetha basically named our podcast. We were having conversations at the place we worked, and I was pretty sure we were going to name it Menage Tech at the time, and I was like, that might be a little too racy and ridiculous. And then Swetha came in to save the day with Womanufacturing. Do you recall that?
I do. I was so happy when you took my suggestion. And I remember when you would send me like all the cute graphics for the podcast, and I'm so honored to finally be here.
And just for the listeners, we're not high quality text. I left the intro music playing too long. Big deal. Sorry about that. Hope you still listen.
I know. I was like, do I interrupt her or do I just let us have our jazzy feeding the ducks in the background the whole time? It's
Honestly,
okay.
I like the elevator. It was pretty great.
We fell in love with it. We went through the sounds and we were like, that's a good one. So
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to just hear from you, Swetha. I know you just recently entered the workforce after graduating. Do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and like what you studied and all of that and what you're doing now?
Yeah, sure. So in college, I went to UCLA for college and I studied mechanical engineering. But I mean, even before that, in high school, I just knew I wanted to be a part of like the build process, but I wasn't sure where I wanted to be. And then I majored in mechanical engineering because I was like, well, I know the least about hardware and I just kind of want to study it. I did some software here and there in high school, and it was super fun, except in my major, a lot of the classes are very theoretical. So this is why I'm like so grateful to my internship experiences for giving me hands-on, very valuable hands-on learning. So yeah, and then by doing all these internships, I realized like my passion, I guess, was kind of doing a little bit of software, a little bit of hardware, and like mixing the two. Even in school, I took a bunch of software classes because I still didn't quite know what I wanted to do. And that's where I found out that automation was a possibility for me. And
What?
it's been, yeah. And honestly, meeting you, Alicia, at the previous startup we worked at, that was so empowering for me, and like hearing all these places that you worked and these machines you automated and seeing what you did as well. I was like, wow, this is an amazing career opportunity. And every day, like at my current job, I personally love it. And every day I like wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to do these really, really cool things. And it could not have happened without me being super confused and being willing to try different things and then finding the thing I wanted to do. And I know the thing I want to do will probably change as time goes on, but right now I'm super duper grateful for my journey, even though it had a lot of twists and turns and me being like, "Oh my God, should I just go to med school?" Like, no, you should not go to med school. But yeah, I don't know. I just was very, very indecisive of what I wanted to do. So,
This is
yeah,
all
I just
music to Alicia's ears. She's just like, yes, more people in automation,
I'm
more
geeking out
women
right now.
jazzed about solving problems.
wait,
Let's
yes,
convert the Meckies into understanding controls.
Wait, true. Very true. Yeah, I think it's like a really cool place to be because when I did the mechanical stuff for systems, and like I guess I could tell you a bit about my internships and how that led me there. But yeah, I started off doing a bunch of hardware and I just built the system and I was like, okay, like now what, you know? It actually has to move, it has to do a thing, it has to respond to the environment. And so since I worked at startups in my internships, I was able to do the mechanical side. And since there's no one to do the automation at the time, I was like, okay, I guess it's me. So then I had the opportunity to actually give it a try. And breathing life into a system, it feels like wizardry. Like this system used to just be sitting still, and then now it's moving around, and it's really cool. So I don't know, I love it.
One of the huge benefits of startups, and also one of the more challenging things, is you do get to wear all the hats. You're like, oh, I built this thing and then I programmed it. And then when it didn't work, no one got to see it yet because I'm the only one touching it. So I got to fail in a very safe space, and I got to iterate on my own work, and I got to learn um, with my own hands, my own mind, how things actually kind of click and work. And so, wait, that sounds like super um, rewarding that you not only you're like, oh, I'm a mechanical engineer, I'm going to do the mechanical side. And you're like, actually, I want to also see it move. And I also want to like breathe this life into it. So it's cool that you got the opportunity to do that really early and that it led you down a good path. And so you are still doing automation work. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. I'm currently doing automation and controls at SpaceX. I personally love that role because I feel like it operates like a startup where you get the chance to wear many hats if you so choose, and people allow you to also fail in a very safe space. Like, I love the mentality that that's failure is needed. Failure is okay, but we want to fail hard and fail fast. I think failure is a very important part, obviously, of the engineering process. And like, if you're not failing, then are you really taking a risk? And I think, like, in terms of the future of my career, I know I always want to be at a place that encourages you to take risks and receives failure well, and, also pushes me to explore more out of my comfort zone than I usually would. I feel like also the other cool thing about being at a systems level, I feel like automation has this unique approach where here's a system that I'm given, but in the progress of automating something, you also are like, okay, well, how does the whole mechanical setup of this work? How does kind of my control flow work? If humans are going to be interacting with it, is it safe? And of course, I'm learning so much about it. And I'm like really grateful to have an amazing mentorship and support family at my current job as well. But they're also educating me on how to look at things from a systems perspective. And automation itself, I feel like it already goes into that full stack ownership where it's like,
Mhm.
you automating this, you should have a say in like how it's mechanically set up, because that is tells you where should my sensors live to get, I guess, the most precision and control states that you need or whatever to get your automation in line. So I think it's a really unique position because you can have your hands in everything. And let's say you're automating one machine to interface with another machine, you then have the systems approach to the whole thing. It's really cool. I love what I'm doing as well. So yeah.
I I love everything that you said, and I really want to hone in on the makes it a safe space for you to fail. Can you help us understand what that looks like?
Yeah. I think just like in terms of the work environment that I've been so grateful to be in the past is, you obviously have this kind of rush, right? You're like, okay, like you need to get this done. And this is like in terms of, let's say, my internships, right? They're like, okay, well,
Yeah.
you can get this done and you have 3 months to do it. But also, you're the only person who has who is in charge of this, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
there's not like a team working on one thing. It's like you have ownership of this one product. So if you have an idea, like no one has the bandwidth to have that much input on what you're doing. Like obviously you ask people, "Hey, I have this idea, like that I thought
Yeah.
about. What do you think about it?" And obviously you need that, you need design reviews, you need those things, but like it's kind of just you being in charge of that one thing?
Mhm.
And I think it's cool because being in charge of a whole system allows a person to think of it in more of a freeing way. I don't know if that really makes sense, but
No,
but
it
it I
it
don't know.
does, and I think you're landing
Yeah.
on why people are gravitating towards startups is because you do get a
Yeah.
high level of responsibility even at a really early point in your career. And I think some of the things I harp on about certain startups is like, well, they give these people responsibility, but there's literally no mentorship or guardrails or anything like that. So are they teaching them wrong? And it sounds like you've had a position or a few positions where you were able to learn the right way and feel like it's okay to fail, but have that sense of
Mhm.
responsibility to really grow your skills. And I just love hearing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, I think it also really depends on your mentor and your management.
Mhm.
I've been lucky that I literally I can pinpoint every mentor I've had, and they're the best mentor ever somehow. I've been so lucky with my managers and mentors, but they have always given me the space to think. They've never told me what to do. They were like, "Here's a problem. Ask me if you want more information, but come to me with ideas and I'll tell you if you're going the right way or if you agree with me, if you don't." And there's been instances where I've been putting so much time into this one idea, but then in the middle I'm like, "Wait, what if we try this other like simpler idea
Mhm.
that could make the system a lot simpler and it'll discard both of our work, but like, why don't we just give it a try?" And they're like, "You know what? Okay, if it's not gonna take like a whole bunch of time, just like doing this other approach to solving the problem, go ahead and do it." So they've given me as an intern that possibility to explore a different path, and it ended up working and saving me a lot of work that I would have to do with the original task. But of course, if I had a more rigid manager who's like, "Well, no, this is the more robust solution, let's go with this," obviously that would be a different story. But it's also the difference between working on scrappy dev solutions, which is what I'm used to, and an actual legitimate production solution, which is what I will eventually be working on for in my job, right? So, it's definitely a difference that I know I will have to get used to. Like, with a dev solution, who am I really gonna be, I guess, hurting is a very smaller group of people if things fail, but when you have people involved, when you have, like it's in a manufacturing setting, that yeah, I don't know, I feel like you have a lot more to think about, and, of
Oh,
course,
yeah.
I can't speak much about this, but yeah, but, to be fair, the freedom to fail, I think, is really big in the in dev. Like, dev, you should be trying everything you can and failing. So I think that's why I have this kind of approach. I bet if I talked to someone who's spent their whole lives in production, they would think the things I'm doing is kinda crazy.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, when you talked about the importance of failure, I completely agree on the one side of things because I think that a lot of people, especially with a perfectionist tendency, will just sit there and try to they won't try something new or they won't think outside the box because they don't want to have something reflect poorly on them. But then on the flip side, there's also little sirens go off in the back of my head when I was like, if you're doing something that's like, oh, we got to iterate, we got to fail fast and learn from it and then not do that again. That's true unless you're doing it on a manufacturing floor and there's a lot of other people who will touch a product or touch a machine before it's ship shape. And if it's under engineering control or if it's in development, I think that it should be organic and it should be learned from, and you should just be able to touch it and change it and iterate. But if it's released to the floor, I get really cagey because I definitely have worked with folks who have always been in the pure startup, the development side, and then they'll come out and they'll release something to the floor. It'll probably be all right. I get there.
Literal people could have
I
been
have
killed. Yeah.
or even if it's not, even if it's benign, but I have 4 different shifts of people to train on this. If it's hard to work with or if it's really confusing, then, they won't figure it out. They'll just break it, and then they'll just call me. So I'm like, but it is
Wait,
imperative
yeah.
to learn really quickly when you're being iterative, and I do love the approach of being able to give people the space to actually noodle on something from a different perspective and a different way of going about it.
Wait, yeah, I totally agree. Every day, my mentor comes up to me and be like, "Make sure you don't do that during production." Yeah, don't worry, don't worry. And, this is the first time where something I'm doing is gonna stick around as long as I'm there. Because at internships, right, I could just come in and then do something that makes it work at a certain point, but
Mhm.
Another valuable thing I learned here is iterating in kind of like a progressive way, which sounds like, oh, duh, like how else would you iterate? But sometimes it's hard to think about where will this product be 5 years in the future? Is my dev solution accomplishing something for the nearest milestone, or can those milestones be extrapolated to maybe 10 years down or 15 years down, right? Am I really thinking of the longevity of this line? Can it be easily modified to increase the output? Can it be easily modified to increase different hardware we want to make on it? These are questions that I will be responsible for now because things move fast, at fast companies. So that's another interesting thing I've never really thought about because internships, I'm like, "Psh, in 3 months, it's not my business. Which of course, I don't actually think that way, but it's easier to think that way, where
Yeah.
it's like, I have my end of my 3 months goals, right? Just getting to that as fast as possible will make me seem successful. But that's how people have intern projects that just stay intern projects. It's tough, especially since I've kind of had to work on an intern project and bring it up, and it's like, yeah, it's a great intern project. Like it was really smart for how it's done, but in terms of taking it to kind of a long-term thing, it's tough. But that's just the nature of internship. So for me personally, I'm still trying to turn my mind into a quick scrappy dev whatever into, well, when this goes into production, when people are near it, when the throughput becomes 10x more than what it is aimed to be now, can this design still work for that?
Yeah,
Can
I
this
think
control flow
what
still
what
work?
Yeah, I think what you're hitting on as far as like internship projects versus like working on something real is important. And I know for myself, I had an intern this summer and I tried to make it as real world as possible, even if I didn't have a lot of billable hours. But it was like, okay, I've got this client that's probably going to come have me redo their control system. So I want you to create the PNIDs and I want you to create the IO list and program it and all of that. Now, when the customer comes, I have this ready to go. And my intern feels like he contributed to something that's going to make my company money and help a customer. And so I think that those internship projects that are very interny are not doing what we hope they should be doing because internships should be preparing you for the real world, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I think it's in the sense that these intern projects are framed to be something that can be done in a quick and scrappy way, but it doesn't have to stick around for like years after, is kind of what I'm trying to get at, which is
Mhm.
normal, which is great, which is fine. Because that's a lot of planning and work anyway. I think that's like a cool thing about turning from an intern to a more full-time type of role, where it's like, wow, I'm gonna be here for a while and I need to make sure that things that I'm doing right now won't come back and bite me back because I'm gonna be the one responsible for this instead
Yeah,
of someone else, right?
I do love that you voice, am I building this to be able to do modifications on it that will still be clean and useful, or am I is it because remodifying things, especially if you're working at a very fast-moving company, is extremely expensive. I do love that you actually voice it because I mean, I've talked to design engineers who are very much more either of our seniors, and they don't think about these things. It's really refreshing to think about it, and it does make the system mindedness more challenging to be
For
like,
sure.
is this gonna hold up the test of time? Especially when you ask questions like, is this gonna be useful to us in 10 years? Because who the heck knows with rapidly growing technology what 10 years actually looks like. So clever design ends up being pretty challenging to
For
make, which
sure.
makes a problem very, very interesting. I also like the point that, anytime that I've bandaged something and I didn't actually get to the root cause, it usually comes back to haunt me, especially if it's like a process that I'm responsible for. So it's really healthy that you have that perspective to be like, maybe I should do a pretty robust solution on this, or I should program so that it's familiar. Because if I have to dust this off and come back to it, it's like I don't want to screw over future me.
I've already felt that way from yesterday to today, which is crazy. My mentor recommended you should like package it something like this. And I was like, Psh, that takes so much longer. But okay, wait, shoot, I kind of had to change this whole thing. And I was like, oh my God, if I didn't package it in this way that made it so much easier to program with, I would be hating myself so much right now. So yeah. And also just as a disclaimer, like in terms of projecting ahead, these are just things that have been told to me recently. I'm in no way of good at thinking of these clever designs, but like just the fact that people around me are so cognizant about it is really cool to see. So that's something that's I guess it's more of a goal for me to get to. But yeah, it literally been
It's a good goal to have. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, you're right. It's so hard though because yeah, we have no idea what's gonna be there in 10 years. But yeah, I mean, at least for the near term, is this gonna haunt me? Is this gonna make my life harder when maybe a process has to change and it's not as modular, like your program isn't as modular as you think, and you have to
Mhm.
just redo half of it? I don't know. It's cool to think that all this structure that's harped upon is like actually very useful. Like it's
Right.
obvious everything's obviously there for a reason. So I don't know. I learned that the past 2 days.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and it can even be something small, like how you name internal parts, like doing part numbers and things.
Mhm.
If you do it in a really
Yeah.
haphazard way to begin with, or you have something that's not very intuitive and you try and grow, it's like building on pillars of sand. You go, what are we doing? I don't know what this means. Everything's out of order. Nothing's alphanumeric. And it
But
gets
you don't know
very
what those
confusing.
things yeah, you don't know what those things are supposed to look like until you've kinda been through it and failed, as you pointed out earlier, and
For
I'm
sure.
just I'm just so excited about both of you because I always tell Justine she's wise beyond her years, and I'm feeling the same about you, Sweta. I'm like, it sounds like you have
No.
great mentors and things like that. But I mean, system level thinking, I have colleagues that still don't think system level thinking, and you're just fresh out of school, and I love that. I'm just really impressed hearing the way you talk about things, and I
Mhm.
love that
No,
you have a mentor. And I wanted to ask,
yeah.
is that your boss or do they assign mentors for new grads?
No, it's great. I don't know if they assign mentors for all teams, but for me, I have the best mentor ever. He is very knowledgeable and very patient with me, and he also is very respectful. Oh, I know you want to work really hard on this, but and you have to put in long hours because yeah, this is our kind of our culture and whatever, but don't burn yourself out. That's what he
Mhm.
told me off the bat, and that's automatically I feel like that's such a green flag because burnout is such a real thing. And I mean, even at my previous startup, I don't know if you knew this, but I was so committed to the project I was working on that we worked throughout the summer and then I also while I was in school, I worked 3 days a week, one of them being on Sunday. And
Oh,
it was so,
wow.
like yeah, like, my friend and I, we'd come in on Sundays, and we'd work, and yeah, it was and then I still kept my job at school too. I don't know what I was doing. I was in 2 jobs, research, 3 classes, and I came in on Sundays. I don't know. Anyway,
That's
whatever. I was on
crazy.
something else back then. Yeah, but I was so committed. I want to finish this project. I want to see the end of it, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, I have no regrets about that. Genuinely, it was a great project to work on. But I mean, I definitely felt very dead after. And I just want to make sure that when I'm young, obviously I want to work as hard as I can, and I think this is like the best environment I could be. Like if not for SpaceX, I would be at a startup. 100%, you know? But I just need to make sure that right things are going to ramp up as I'm given more responsibilities, and I'm so grateful to have a mentor that's like, "Hey, make sure you like watch out," you know?
Yeah.
And he's different than my manager. And all these things that I'm saying about like you think I'm wise beyond my words, my years, sorry, but no, it's me coming with ideas and them telling this to me. They're like, "Hey, I totally get where you're coming from, but think about it like this." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, mind blown." So they're kind of doing their job really well as the high level people that are like, "Remember, this is our end goal. Focus on this. You know, I know you're kind of working on a small part of it, but The system itself needs to fit in with what you're or you need to fit in with what our overall system needs to look like, even a long while down the line, right? I'm so grateful to be where I am right now.
That gives me goosebumps because there's
Yeah.
just not that many good mentors and leaders out there, or I've just drawn the bad hand every time. But this is one of my passion things. We need better mentors. I take on as many mentees as I can, and we need people to be in these environments where they're supported and have the freedom to think about things. But then you have somebody to be like, well, have you thought about this? So it's just making my heart really happy.
Yeah, and honestly, I know that the company in general gets a bad rap about work culture and whatever, and also just like there's not that many women. You know, let's talk
Mhm.
about
Shocking.
manufacturing. Yeah, there's not that many women. The whole time I've never felt that way. I've never felt like, isolated or not supported. I feel like I've had so much support there. Actually, somehow even more than startups I've been on in the past, just because of sheer numbers, right? There's like more people
Yeah.
at the company, more people on your team, even though we're spread just as thin or even thinner as a startup, like us, we have heavy ownership over what we're doing. I still feel like if I have any sort of like emotional thing to talk about, or like I was stuck on something or just need to go for a walk, I can ask someone, you know,
Hmm.
and everyone's here for each other and everyone's really nice. So that also might just be on the team I'm in. They're awesome, but I'd like to say there's a lot of great people.
No, I love that.
And yeah, yeah. And yeah, another thing about my mentor is like, and also just kind of the transition from the startup I was at. At the startup I was at, there were so little people that everyone was up to their nose, right?
Hmm.
I guess like questions were were kind of not frowned upon, but it was like you better be doing your due diligence and figuring this out yourself before asking someone else for their time. Because,
Right.
burn rate is a big thing. And 100% I'm so grateful that was what I interned with, right? I learned how to problem solve. Not that I was that good, but I was trying to get better at problem solving on my own, doing my own research, and it would make me figuring things out more satisfying too. But the craziest change I expected is I came to my current job and I didn't ask anyone for help because I was scared. I was scared
Mm.
that I didn't know how many questions I should ask. I didn't know everyone's time is so valuable, this and that. And then one time I talked to my manager about it. Hey, I kind of struggled on this one thing. Can I ask a question about it? Am I supposed to be asking questions? Like, how much time do I struggle at something till I can ask a question? And my manager was like, your job is to ask questions. Like, we are evaluating people on our team based on how good they are at being mentors. Isn't that such an
Mhm.
awesome thing? And they
Yeah.
were like, the mentors on the team are being judged by how good they are at mentoring people. Everyone's such an awesome mentor. And he's like, you should be asking, well, of course, Google it first, obviously, but like when you're really stuck, or maybe you just need someone to look over what you're doing, don't be afraid to ask questions because obviously automation is, I don't know how to say it, like it's not finicky, but like there's a syntax for everything.
Yeah, and you have to learn
Let's
it
say
on your
that.
own. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
There's
no
not
one
a lot of
teaches you this at
resources.
school.
Yeah.
Right. And then every system you work with, or the system I work with is like totally different than anything I'm used to. It's definitely a little finicky, and there's times where I like grind away at something, and it could have just been a question because it's something really specific that everyone is just moving so fast that they can't really document. You know what I mean? And it's the same for
Yeah.
startups, right? There's some things you can just you just need to ask questions about. And
Yeah.
just getting there, yeah, and just getting there and that reassurance being there, it also made me feel okay to not know what was going on sometimes and ask questions. Because even my manager would say, like, hey, just because you don't know the way something works doesn't mean you're supposed to. Maybe the process itself is confusing.
Yeah.
And as someone who just came into a job and obviously have all this like imposter syndrome, oh my God, I'm the dumbest person in the room right now, this and that. Maybe this process is just confusing because I'm the problem. Maybe I'm stupid and I can't figure it out. But instead, no, ask questions because maybe you're thinking of something that wasn't properly addressed and the whole room needs it. So I
Yeah.
think that culture is definitely there and it's helping a lot with me being okay with asking questions, me feeling like it's okay to feel a little confused. Sometimes when I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm confused, people around me are like, well, I don't know what I'm doing either. So, and
Ye
of course I'm working with literal geniuses, but um, they always make me feel better, and it's
But
all part
that's
of
a
the learning
skill
process.
set. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
skill set to know exactly when to ask for help, because I've seen
that
a
is
lot of
true.
people who ask too soon, right? They don't even go try
Yeah.
to figure it out themselves. But if you go try to figure it out yourself and then ask, then you're going to really get a lot more out of it. And I think that's just really important and something you have to learn. And I think some people have too high of an ego to even want to ask questions because they're afraid. But then how long are they going along misunderstanding something or doing something stupid when they could have just asked? So,
No, yeah, I totally agree. I think I mean, I'm still pretty bad at figuring that out, but I think also having management that helps guide you figure it out yourself for a bit, and then sometimes you just need direction and seeing how you're doing. Like, how independent am I actually supposed to be? But I think it obviously depends on the role you're in and whatever software and hardware you're using, because it definitely can be intuitive or non-intuitive at times. But yeah, I'm still struggling. Every question I ask, oh man, I really shouldn't be asking this. My mentor always is like, it's okay. It's confusing, you know? Like you can ask questions. So I feel a
I
lot
love your
better about that.
mentor.
Yeah,
He
me
sounds
too.
amazing.
It's actually the best. Every day I wake up and I thank my lucky stars that I'm at the place I am right now. So I'm very happy to have such a support system at work.
Well, I'm glad that you get to do impactful work and that that's how you feel about it too. Because a lot of people don't get the opportunity to feel that way. That's awesome. I know that it sounds like a crazy amount of work, but it is infectious when people around you are working so hard. And I have found when working at companies that are very mission driven that the people around you tend to be pretty stellar humans, which make them pretty stellar coworkers. So that's rad.
Yeah, for sure.
Does does SpaceX still count as a startup, or do you not consider it as a startup now?
Oh, that's a
I'm
good
just curious.
question. I don't know. I feel like I don't count it as a startup
I mean,
because
it's not
I don't
publicly traded, right?
it's not publicly traded. But
But
okay, in my mind I
Chobani's
classify
not either.
startup.
Chobani's not publicly traded?
Mm, mm-mm. Still
Oh,
Oh,
private.
whack.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah.
Interesting.
wait, yeah.
Okay. I don't know
Okay,
where
I
the
class
threshold is. Like, I don't know if it's a size thing or
Or yeah.
if it's like an aura, like an essence.
Aura. That's
You
Right.
fair.
know?
You
Well, yeah,
guys do have really
Chobani.
good snacks and a barista, right? That's very startup-y, right?
Yeah, I think you're at a startup.
That's fair. Wait, but
'Cause yeah.
like Google, I mean, okay, I guess Google's publicly traded, but they also have a lot of cool stuff.
But then, like,
Yeah.
Google X is a side quest of Google, and that's more startup-like.
Yeah.
But if you're
You know,
working at
I
Google proper or if you're working at, like, Alphabet, that's different.
that is fair. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't it's hard to tell. I mean, obviously, I don't really know about all like the finances behind the doors, but it feels like we're not gonna burn. You know, I
Yeah.
Yeah,
think
like,
that's the
you're not fighting for survival, so you don't feel like
yeah,
you're on the, like, "Oh, we're not gonna
that's what
make
I'm
it,"
feeling.
or, "We have to do another round of fundraising, otherwise we're not gonna be able to
Yeah,
make
or
payroll this
like
Yeah.
week," or, um
yeah, or like, oh, we have to like cut our R&D down because we're gonna run out of money, or like, oh, we have to focus on the product that actually does make money. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I feel like that context is not gonna be there. And also, it's a stable position in my mind, at least. Like, it's more stable than a startup. I actually was choosing between a startup and SpaceX
Okay.
earlier. Not the one we worked at, Alicia, but another one.
Yeah.
But I was yeah, but I was choosing between those 2, and SpaceX just seemed like it wouldn't go under sooner. It's not gonna go on. Like, it's probably gonna keep doing great. I don't know. I think that's also in my head. I mean, all the startups I worked at previously were, like, very kind of we gotta be very careful with our funds to a point and, like, runway, you know? So I think in my mind, maybe that's why I thought, like, it was, like, more startup-y.
But we had a really
Uh,
large amount of money we could spend every day at the one we were
that
at.
is true, but we also had a poster with burn rate on the wall.
True, true.
Mhm.
We were reminded every day.
Wait, I genuinely was scarred. Actually, like, it was good. It was good. It was, like, a good scarred because and I would tell I the next startup I worked at, which was, like, the internship after my junior year, also a
Mhm.
great startup in the Bay, another robotic startup. But anyway, like, at that startup, my manager was like, "Okay, we'll, like, get it ordered," like, the day after. I was like, "No, we have to get it ordered right now because we're gonna waste time, and time is burn rate and this and that, and, like, we can save the money that of our salaries on the shipping and, like, all these things." And he's like, "Chill, like, it's okay. We can get it in a few days extra." I'm like,
He's like,
"No,
"Who
it has
hurt
to be right."
you?"
Yeah,
I
you were
know.
brainwashed.
Yeah, I mean, it was, like, definitely made me work impress that, like, my manager in the beginning because he was like, "Wow, you're very motivated." I'm like, "We're too slow right now, like, we gotta go faster, like, this is too slow." And,
I
Burn
ran
rate
into
is
a s
coming.
I ran into a similar problem when I started working at a job after a startup, that they were like, "These problems will be here tomorrow, like, you can go home." And I was like, "Oh, okay.
right. No, exactly.
Am I making you
Exactly.
uncomfortable?"
Yeah.
Because I am taking it easier than I have done before.
I have to tell you, I have now clients that are startups as well as established companies, and I am struggling with the established companies because I just want to move. I want to go. I don't
Right,
want to go to
right.
10 meetings. I want decisions, and it's driving me crazy.
Yeah, 2 weeks is not enough time for a big company, like a corporation, to make a decision, whereas if something wasn't 60% done in 2 weeks with a contractor, they were, like, getting fired, you know?
Right.
It's like
Right.
it's just a different mentality. I've been tootling around on the internet, and according to a couple of articles or random things, it's just a threshold of when does the energy shift from being very growth focused and changing dynamics to doing something very consistently, kind of like the difference between like dev to doing like scaled production, or if you have like more than 100 employees or you're valued at a certain higher amount. So once
Okay.
again, I feel like it's,
Ooh.
it's very vibes based because there's so many things that
Mm.
are startup esque, that when you say startup, it could be 6 people in somebody's basement working on a new synthetic, or it could be like 200 people, but their product isn't stable. So they keep iterating and they're not actually everything they produce is a one-off. There's no repeatability yet. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, so,
Well,
like, they haven't gone into the production floor? Pretty
Yeah, I think that's one way of thinking about it. It's hard when you're not selling like a physical product as well, because I feel
right.
like SpaceX is making physical realities in order to reach the space travel goal. And that's a much loftier goal. And you're not going to be like printing tickets to space, you know? So it's like hard to tell. But since you guys do have so many more employees than 100 and you guys are worth more than 500 million or whatever, I would think that by technicalities, you're not a startup any longer.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
and I guess we do have product like, Starlink is our product, you know?
Hmm.
So, in that sense, I feel like I mean, we're still iterating, like, that's the tough part. It's also
Yeah,
very
you're
cool,
never
like
not going to be iterating, to be fair.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think,
but
and the only companies that stop iterating are ones that die, like
exactly,
Zero.
exactly. It's like
Who's
the difference
technically,
between Yeah, it's like iterating to survive versus iterating to improve, I feel like.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
And
The
you mentioned
limit.
Starlink. I don't want to give Elon my money, but I feel like I need Starlink because I can't even get fiber to my house and I'm running a goddamn business. So, ugh. Can I just
Wait,
like give the money
please.
to you, Sweta, and you can help me broker this deal?
I mean, sure, I mean, I'll see what I can't make any promises, but just know if you're supporting Starlink, you're supporting me.
And that is a beautiful statement. I'm good with it. And
Alicia
quite
just needs
honest,
a different face to picture when she shells her
I'm
money out.
dead.
She's just like,
exactly.
I need I need somebody else.
No,
That is
I'm like
fair.
super pleased to hear how things are going for you and you have a great mentor. It really makes me happy and I have similar experiences with people that are now they were at a company with me and Justine and are now over at Tesla in the later stages, and Tesla several years ago is different than Tesla now, and I feel like with in any of these companies it just depends on what department you're in and who your leaders are and all of that. There's good people in these companies. Just have been burned by some of the bad ones.
No, that is so fair. No, I'm telling you, I got so lucky. People tell me that they love this team. So I know that I'm on a great team. I'm just so grateful that this is my out of grad experience. And if I ever get far enough to have the privilege of being a mentor to someone, then I definitely hope to be as good of a mentor as my mentor is to me.
You're going to be amazing. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, thank you for having me and letting me yap all my thoughts to you guys.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you
so
so much for
grateful.
sharing.
Of course.
We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you. Bye.